I mean, they say Yazani's king and he's the biggest celebrity in their country, you know? And I feel like by default, I've become the second biggest celebrity in their country, if not the biggest. At some point, wrestling just can't be everything for you anymore. Christian goes out there with the treats, they're gonna be all over you. This is Kale and Cody, named after my coaches. All of our animals are really friendly except our pig.
I can't wait to see this thing. Oh my, no way. Oh man, I was all up in it.
People are posting swipe posts of like Yazani wrestling, and then it'll be a picture of you with Honey with a bow in her hair.
It makes so much sense when you watch it. I've never seen it. I've never seen a practice like that.
Where are we going, Christian?
Well, Tyler, as you know, America needs farmers, and we're gonna visit farmer David Taylor. We're going to David Taylor's house, farm, to see what's going on there. What do you think we're doing?
I'm done talking to you.
All right. You see, he's not gonna put it in there, but Tyler talks very rudely to me. He's just a rude person, generally. Life on the farm's all about respect, hard work, integrity. Ultimately, as cool as it's gonna be spending time with David Taylor, I'm hoping Tyler will learn the lessons of life. How to be a good person to another person. How's it going?
That's Kale and Cody. Kale has the white stripe around his belly, kind of like the Penn State singlet.
Hey, Kale. What's going on?
How you doing?
Check the boots. He's legit. What's up? Good to see you, man.
Oh, we've got some extra cowboy boots if you need some.
Oh, heck yeah. Let's go.
We sold our house and bought this house before the Worlds. And then like the week or 2 weeks after we got back, we moved in here, which is crazy, yeah. So our cows are super friendly, like very friendly, like oversized dogs. So Christian goes out there with the treats, they're gonna be all over you. So just be ready for that.
Okay, I'll be ready.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can sense it.
They can. Wherever you go, they're gonna follow you.
Does it still have a bow in its hair?
No, the bow's falling out. But
was
if you can see, everything around here is pink. Like we have a pink poop shovel. Like I was at the store the other day and the guy's like, you probably don't want a pink shovel. I'm like, no, I actually really want a pink shovel because if it's not pink, it won't be used. It'll just, the girls won't use it.
That's why he got male goats, because he's like, I need some boys.
All of our animals are really friendly except our pig. She's
Oh, no.
She's a different beast. So
her name is Ursula for a reason. It was supposed to be Penny or Lily, and we were like, no, you're not. That doesn't vibe.
You're the evil witch from Little Mermaid now.
And we didn't even pick her out. Our realtors dropped her off as a housewarming gift. I was like, what does she eat? What does she need? And they're like, I don't know. Just figure it out.
We're like, what kind of pig is she? She's like, I don't know. We researched and like tried to get good animals and that. And we got an evil pig. I put her out in the pasture because I'm like, how fast can this pig be? It's tiny. So she's playing with the cows and she's ruling the roost. She gets out.
I told you to put her away. I was like, Dave, go put the pig away. And he's like, stop being a helicopter parent. She's fine. I go to put the kids down and I look out the window and they're in that field over there. And David's like trying to keep this.
I'm running as fast as I possibly can and she's way faster than me. I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. So we start here, kind of think it's funny. Then I realize in this field it's a problem. And I'm chasing her up and down, up and down, up and down, thinking, oh, she'll get tired. Then I have Kendra and other of my friends. They're also pregnant. So I'm like, you guys aren't gonna do it. You're not fast enough. In the meantime, the pig is up, around. We're zipping around, zipping around, zipping around. Then it goes across the street over here and you see like all these fields.
They're running around with blankets trying to catch this mini pig. And I was like, her legs are 4 inches long. How hard can this be? And David's like, did you see the power though? We lost her for a week.
Oh my gosh.
We just got someone called and they were like, we found your pig. And I was down at K2 Roots and there were a bunch of wrestlers there. So I was like, guys, hop in my car. Like juice and lunches on the house. Just we need to get this pig. We got her back. But now we're like, why did we even try? She's so mean.
I feel like it's a rite of passage for farmers to like lose an animal and have to track it down.
Yeah, well, not this animal because
I can't wait to see this thing. In my mind, this thing is such a beast.
Ferocious.
Let's go meet her.
Yeah, I have
now you gotta meet Ursula.
I cannot wait to see this pig.
The barn came with the house and has all these horse stalls and stuff. We didn't really even have any intention to get animals. Just, I feel like I go 0 to 100 in just about anything that I do. So then we had 3 cows and 2 goats and then we got a pig all within like a week. But this is Ursula.
Oh my, no way. There's no way.
We gotta test this thing for PEDs. I'm serious. It's like, this thing is no joke.
Oh my gosh.
She tries to bite you all the time. All right, let's see. You gonna be nice or you gonna try and bite me? Oh, look at you. See, look at you. Actually, she must know the cameras are on her. London was crying. You gotta get my pig back, my pig. I had a tough conversation with her. She's gone. She goes, it's all right, Daddy, I just wanted a pink one. Oh. Good thing I was chasing this thing around for 4 hours.
I wanted to bite Christian so
yeah, it's 50-50.
Oh, so what made you want to get a piece of property like this and start kind of getting into farming a little bit?
I feel like we were stuck inside, just like sometimes just like watching movies till going to bed, and now we always have something to do. Like we usually have a fire going and just a lot more enjoyable. Our life is so busy. So I train full time, dad, husband. We have multiple businesses that we're running every single day. This in part is just a way to decompress. Like you come out here, you're just in a good mood. You know, you're hanging out with the animals. Like nothing here really takes a ton of maintenance, but it's just enough that you spend time with the animals. They're obviously pretty friendly, so.
Just by nature, can you just not be still very long at all? You just gotta be doing.
Yeah. I'm like all in on pretty much anything that I do. Like I don't usually dabble in much, but when I'm turn it off, I want to be off. So like my dream vacation is just like sitting and doing nothing. Like just when we go on vacation, like we don't get to do as much as we should. I like to go sit on the beach and I don't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, but usually our days are pretty busy. So today we're getting a run-in shed delivered. One thing that's super cool about this area is the Amish are amazing.
Yeah.
They have super good quality stuff. They make everything by hand. So we're getting a run-in sheds, 10 by 16. Cows, like, and especially with Highlands, they're pretty rugged. Like they were in Scotland, just like doing their thing. But you need a place to get them out of the, like basically out of the winter, you know? It'll go in the back of the barn. We'll feed them and put their water and stuff in there.
Classic shed delivery. Classic shed delivery.
This is where Christian's gonna sleep tonight.
I'm sleeping back here, all right. I'm such an outdoorsman. Ah, yeah.
So if you're wondering, Ursula is definitely my least favorite and the cows are my favorite.
I was checking your Instagram. I feel like you always post the same cow, Honey, right?
Yeah, she's hilarious.
That's her?
Well, Honey's the biggest one. Stormy is the black one, and then T-Bone, he's a steer, he's the little one. And everyone asks if I'm gonna eat him, and I just say it's up to him. Like if he's a jerk, then he's gonna be ground beef. But he's been pretty, they're all really chill.
Authentic.
Yeah.
And get it tight
up,
there,
yeah.
Tyler. Honey looks emo. Hi. Hey. You're like, yeah, get your hand off me unless it's got food in it. Uh-oh. Should I do the big reveal? I think you already figured it out.
See, they know.
Oh, you dropped, look. Look, you respond to the snaps? Yeah, look. What do you think? I'm out. You got two. You're the big dog.
So they'll get to like 1,000 pounds. Like the male and female both grow horns and pretty big. So she'll have like horns that'll be like this. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously, they'll be like this. So that was one of the reasons why getting them young at this age, we come
Big
out, we just
dogs.
brush them and
You like that?
yeah, they just like attention. And she'll just keep coming up to you. She just wants more scratches.
When David has a to-do list and he doesn't want to do anything on it, he just goes outside and he's like, oh, I have to go do stuff with the cows. And I see him just combing them for 2 hours. I'm like, get in here.
Kendra will be like, dude, she'll call me. She'll be like, get inside, quit playing with the cows.
Oh boy, oh man. I was all up in it. That's rookie move.
One of my favorite parts about this so far is every time David says something about a farm, you'd be like, yeah, like earlier he was like, your cows are gonna escape. And you're like, oh yeah, always.
If they ever get out, which cows will always get out, that's a problem. Like everyone's like, hey, your cows are gonna get out at some point.
They do,
As if you,
bro.
like, as if you know farm life.
I know. I lived in a place that had cows were always out.
It's like stolen valor, but for farm.
No, I just observant.
Have you seen like the online Iranian reaction at all to you being a farmer?
Not really.
People are posting swipe posts of like Yazdani wrestling, and then it'll be a picture of you with Honey with a bow in her hair.
I feel
Have you
that.
learned to tune out the Iranians?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy, honestly, like just their fandom and how much they follow every intricate detail of everything that goes on. Like, it's pretty wild, actually. But Yazdani is, I mean, they say Yazdani is king, and I mean, in his country, like, he's the biggest celebrity in their country. You know? And I feel like by default, I've become the second biggest celebrity in their country, if not the biggest. I mean, they need something to talk about, and he hasn't been winning as much lately, so they got to find a way to make it all make sense, I guess.
I don't think this is helping it make sense. Now he's putting bows in cattle.
Well, I just think we kind of talked about it a little bit with the farm. Like, I mean, I think wrestling, you get to a point where, you know, especially for us, like, you know, since I was a young kid, wrestling was everything for me. At some point, wrestling just can't be everything for you anymore. You know, you'll drive yourself crazy, and you know, to get to the 1% of the 1%, you know, to be at the level that my aspirations were, at some point, you're gonna need other things to kind of like, or it's hard to find fulfillment in just competing, you know, just training, because you're not gonna have good days every day and you're gonna feel bad. When you have other things, you have a family, or you have, you know, really hairy cattle, like it just puts things in perspective, you know? Like
Yeah.
when I train this morning, it's training. You know, I'm gonna push myself, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Whatever the outcome was today, it's not gonna affect the rest of my life. You know, and I think that's something that a lot of times wrestlers lose track of, because you hear this like, oh yeah, you gotta run 10 miles a day, you gotta sacrifice nonstop and this, that, and the other thing. And I think you have to do that, but to live your entire life that way, I don't know how many people can really live their entire life that way.
Yeah.
You know? I think it puts so much emphasis on just winning that sometimes it's hard to win.
When did that switch kind of flip for you?
2016 actually, so I remember going into the Olympics in 2016. I mean, my whole life I thought I was gonna win the Olympics in 2016. You know, it was like everything I did, I just thought that was the year. I remember thinking, man, Kale graduated in college and 2 years later won the Olympics in 2004, and my life will line up the same. I graduated in 2014 and I won the Olympics in 2016. I remember that was like what I thought. That was like my path. And I never really thought any more than that. That was just like, that was the path. I think in that process, you know, going up in weight class, you know, I think the reality was, I think deep down, I didn't think I was gonna do it that year. And my performance showed that. I think going in weight class was a long-term approach for me, which has been the best thing I did. But in that year, I was just stressed out all the time, like just like, man, I don't know, like I want this so bad, but I think in reality, I just probably deep down knew it probably wasn't gonna happen. And I remember being at the trials. I think I had just weighed in, and I remember sitting there, and I remember just like started crying, and basically because I'm like, I wanted it so bad, and I was like so stressed about winning. Probably didn't feel like I was gonna do that as well as I wanted to when I went into the tournament. And you know, I lost, but then after I lost, I wrestled really well on the backside of the bracket, and it's like, man, why don't I just wrestle like that all the time? And after losing, it's like, okay, this thing I wanted my entire life, I didn't get because I was wrestling so tight. Why am I doing this? That summer, you know, I went as a training partner with Jaden, and being at the Olympics, that was the first major event in my life I went to, and I wasn't in it. And after that, I'm like, man, if I'm gonna lose, I'm not losing by not wrestling the best of my ability. And I started to really kind of let it rip against all the best people I wrestled, that, you know, now moving forward. And I think that was like a big crossing roads. It's like, all right, well, if I'm gonna commit this time and sacrifice to do this, you know, away from my wife and whatever, like it can't be so stressful that like your whole life depends on it. And you know, going into 2018 when I won the Worlds, I think I got confidence from it that I could separate myself from everybody versus it holding me back. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of part of that process in those few years. It's hard, but you know, made a big difference for me.
Yeah, man. Since that switch, what, you've lost one time
Yeah.
since 2017, one loss?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
In 2017, when I was making those, I remember just like it was a hunger. It was like, I remember before going to those international tournaments and almost hoping the best guys weren't there in a weird way. Like, I want to
Really?
win these tournaments. Like, I need to win these tournaments. You're like in this weird thing. Oh, this guy's, you kind of rationalize, this guy was a bronze medalist or something, but your goal is not to beat a bronze medalist. You know, if you're beating a bronze medalist, that doesn't mean you're going to be a champ. Like, the champs are the guys you got to beat. And I wasn't beating those guys. And then after that, in 2017, I was like seeking out the best people. I remember going to the World Cup, and I was like begging Bill, like, Bill, you have to let me go. I knew who we were going to wrestle against. I'm like, I want to go, I need to be there. And I wanted to beat those guys. And, you know, I beat them, and I beat them bad. And that was like a big springboard for me. I was talking to some of my kids the other day. I'm like, man, every time we're walking to a college match, my expectation was a major decision. I was talking to you maybe about it. You know, where now it's like, no matter who I wrestle, like, my expectation isn't just to win matches. That's not, you know, what I train for. And then it just becomes sort of like your personality. So that was a big switch for me. You know, now if I'm wrestling Yazdani, or if I'm wrestling first guy in the World Championships, like, I'm going out there with that same intentions. And not always, it doesn't always work that way, but definitely not going to lose because I'm holding back and hoping to win. You know, if that guy beats me, they're going to have to beat me and out wrestle me for 6 whole minutes. So as much as those losses really hurt, they definitely developed me to where I am now, for sure.
You had a post-match interview after one of your world titles where you said after 2021 Worlds, you were like, man, maybe Yazdani caught up with me.
Adjustments. I remember thinking after Oslo, you know, man, has he passed me? You know, did I get lucky in the Olympics?
How much of that do you think was you had just won the Olympic title? How much better do you think you've gotten since that tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think you go through the Olympics, and then there's definitely like a what's next moment. And I think when you're on the top of the world, you feel like, man, yeah, like definitely gonna go. I'm gonna go to World Championships. Like, why wouldn't I go to World Championships? But the emotional letdown after the Olympics, like just I wasn't really able to get anywhere back to where I would want to be. Like I was just spent. I really was. I was just spent. Then you got Yazdani, who's like, man, you know, he just lost. He got 8 weeks to like get remotivated and really be at his best. So he wrestled me at my very worst, and that, you know, by far, like that tournament was the very, very worst. You could just see our energy and our demeanors were so different in that match from the very first whistle, you know, till the end. And I remember after that, like really questioning, like, dang, maybe I don't have it like I had it or whatever. That year was challenging, but then, you know, the last few years have been a little bit different. So now I you know, wrestling isn't my main focus anymore. When I'm in there, I'm definitely really focused on it, and I want to be the best. So I don't ever want to turn in a bad performance, but you know, just having other things, it just kind of puts wrestling in perspective a little bit more, you know.
10 years ago, if I said, David, you'll be the best you've ever been and maybe one of the best wrestlers of all time, and wrestling won't even be the main thing that you're thinking about or doing, would that have made sense to you then?
No way. No, because everything I remember, everyone that did it, that's how they said they did it. You know, that just everyone that did it was just like, this is all I do. And I think that got me to where I got to, but it was unsustainable for me anymore. One of the best things about having longevity as a competitor is you just have to evolve, you know? And if I was trying to do what I did in 2018 now, I'd run myself into the ground. That's the value of experience, you know, for sure. And by any means, it's not easier now, but I just have to do it a little bit differently than what I did before.
Do you think if you didn't put all these different things in your life that occupy your time, could you see yourself falling back into just only wrestling? If you didn't have coaching and farming and family and everything, it was just you wrestling, do you think you would fall back into it?
I wouldn't be successful.
Yeah.
The way that I was able to do it then, where like from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you're monitoring every single thing that you eat, everything, every training session, you're pushing it, you're getting a little bit better every single training session. It was like, it got me to a point, and then what it would require to continue to make the progress, it really wasn't possible.
You talk about how like eat, breathe, sleep wrestling got you to where you are. Do you think that that's something that everyone who starts out has to do, and then you can find the balance later? Or do you sometimes wish you had found the balance earlier?
I think kids are different, you know, like when you coach, you realize that, yeah, you know.
Hello.
When I openly would tell kids and the parents, I'm like, I don't think you should do it the way I did it. Like there were people that were so good when I was a kid and they just didn't make it. They just got burnt out, got hurt, whatever it may be. And I think there's kids that can do that and there's kids that can. And but I mean, I think we definitely at the club, like we train kids way different than the way that, you know, Mark McKnight and I grew up training. Most clubs like, man, we got to be winning Tulsa National Eagles when we're 8 years old and we got to win every one, which is how I thought. But we don't think that way, because that stuff really doesn't matter. Every kid's different. Like you can tell, like there's some kids that like are wired that way and they can think and you can talk to them that way. And there's some kids that aren't. And if you talk to them like that, they're not gonna listen and they're gonna like not want to come to practice. So my advice would be like, depending on how you're wired, you know, there's definitely different ways to do it. You know, to get good at wrestling, you have to spend hours and hours and hours and hours at it, because if you don't do that, it is gonna be really hard to get to the level, you know, if that's your aspiration.
Oh, honey.
She's trying to take Christian out. She knows you got treats.
I don't.
She still thinks you do.
I gave you the most. This is a sign of disrespect. You're very assertive.
It's a balance. Like you need success to have excitement to continue to get better, but you kind of need failure along the way to also get better. Well, you don't want too much failure because you're not going to want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And too much success makes it really hard to overcome failure. So it's a very unique line, and again, it kind of goes back to like how the kids are wired. Your demeanor is a huge piece of that, you know?
Yeah.
So Mark and I talk about this all the time. Like we're always talking about, you know, should we do things differently? We'll come back from a tournament, maybe we don't do as good as we thought we would. And we're like, we gotta change everything. We're like, what? You know, we don't. We don't need to change everything, you know? Like it's working, but yeah, it's fun. That's the fun part about it.
Yeah.
So
I think wrestling in America is in a better spot having more guys like you coaching with that message, because there's a toxic message out there in youth wrestling that you kind of described it. It burns a lot of kids out that maybe would love the sport.
You know, now there's 30 million national tournaments every single weekend.
Nice, properly christened.
And back then there weren't as many, you know, there were a couple, you know, and Tulsa Nationals was like the primary one growing up. And I just remember just like these kids like cutting so much weight, they were getting carried to the scale and they were getting incentivized with go-karts and things. Like, man, if you win this tournament, I'll give you a go-kart, you know? And the kids did. They were 8 and under and they were monsters. But by the time they were 10 and under, they weren't as good. But they were 12 and under, they were done wrestling. You know, people are driven in different ways, but you want to try and find your value and satisfaction by your, getting better rather than always performance driven. But the reality is sometimes it is performance driven, so.
For sure.
It's tough.
Competitive sport.
Are they playful?
Yeah.
If I just like started taking off running, would they chase me?
Probably.
They're like, something's happening.
I think I managed to sprint that whole length without stepping in any poop.
That's actually pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
So you got a pink shovel, David.
Yeah, pretty much how it rolls. So if I want my girls to help me with the chores, if it's pink, it's definitely gonna help. And
That's how I get Christian to do work too.
Yeah, I could see that.
This generation.
My older daughter, if it's not pink, she just instantly says, that's Ivy's. So, and Ivy will just wrestle everything. She doesn't really help me with anything. This is Kale and Cody. That's Kale with the white stripe, and that's Cody, named after my coaches.
What did they say when you told them you named 2 goats after them?
I still don't think Kale knows. He might know, I don't know, but maybe just planned it off. But Cody knows, and he was laughing. Ivy, she's savage. If she was out here, she'd just be wrestling, and the goats will headbutt her, and she'll fall down, and she'll be gut wrenching them, and then she'll go inside and chase our cats, gut wrench the cats. Wrestles London every single night. London can't get away from her. London's, I don't know, 20 pounds bigger than her probably, and she's somewhat scared of Ivy.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of our friends, like, they talk about Ivy boot camp because she just toughens everybody up.
I'm guessing that's your older daughter's.
Yeah, that's London's. She's not gonna sit in anything that's not pink.
Well, awesome. This has been so cool.
Tomorrow is the college WCA All-Star match here at Rec Hall. Who's anyone going to that? Right, pretty good. So a lot of weight classes, like number 1 versus number 2 in the country, or some version of that. And then I'm doing the commentating tomorrow with Flo. So Tyler and David are here tonight. And then obviously high school season started. I can imagine you guys are probably getting crushed right now. So we'll kind of see what your energy level is tonight and go from there. Anything else? No? Okay. Right, so just want to get started with some of our finishing stuff tonight. So
We were watching the beginning of the practice, and there's like a little explanation, use of that. Normally a coach says, all right, here's what we're gonna work on, and then it's like warm up, and then they start running around the room. David he said, all right, let's look on this finish. Started with the finish and then moved to the setup, and it's like, it makes so much sense when you watch it. I've never seen it. I've never seen a practice like that.
off of our leg attack.
Nobody's run a step. Nobody's done a push-up. Nobody's done a jumping jack. It started with like the simplest part, the finish, and then advanced from there. I've never seen it. Makes a ton of sense.
Make sure you get weight on his far leg before you double off. Weight on his far leg first.
I don't know. He put his forearm in my face, and then we got in a scramble. And then now he has like something.
Kellen, you gotta get out of there, dude.
How was your trip?
It's good. All right, let's go. Who's up?
Kids.
Oh, look at that. Oh. So junior high and high school practice just started on Friday, so they're getting worked right now, probably pretty good. So we usually try and gauge the energy of the room, but just getting started with just some technical stuff, and then we'll kind of build into some of our drills. The energy looks pretty good tonight, so I feel like we'll be able to get some work in. It's tough. Club wrestling's hard because it's obviously purely optional for these kids, but necessary. I mean, if you want to achieve your goals, you're just not going to do it without going to a club, because we have some pretty high-level kids. We have some younger kids that are just getting started, but across the board, these details matter. Like first day of practice, training for the Olympics, like you got to finish cleanly, get takedowns. So
coming into a practice, how do you know what you're going to show that day?
Like we have a system that we focus on here, so like we just kind of like keep building on it. Like we've been working on just some things throughout the summer, and it just kind of continues to build. Like a lot of these kids are year-round kids, so like practice to practice to practice. And we have seasonal wrestlers that come in as well, but this room, I'd say almost 90% of these kids are with us probably all year round, which is pretty good. So we just kind of try and keep building and give them something else to think about. And then we'll just adjust it as practice goes. Maybe they're figuring stuff out a little better, or maybe they're not. So maybe we'll spend some more time, and if they're kind of figuring out, we'll kind of move on. And I try and just continue to give them like multiple ways to think about things. So like not just like one way to score, but kind of progressing through a sequence. So each guy's a little different in the way that they attack and stuff. So give them some structure, but also some flexibility at the same time.
It's a year-long system. How do you know when to revisit something that you just recently worked on? How do you know when to switch it up?
Competitions. Yeah, competitions are the best way. Like we can kind of see where we're at and like if we got to keep working or if we can kind of like move on to the next thing. Start with some situations. First one, you're on a high crotch. Guy on the high crotch, you're losing. On the defense, you're up by 1. So understand your situation here. You're trying to baseline, you're trying to get your legs back, you're trying to finish in the front headlock. Other guy, you gotta score. Go! Before you know it, it's going to be getting ready for the state tournament. So it goes by quick. So let's make sure we're enjoying it. Let's make sure we're coming in here with good attitude. Make sure we're encouraging our friends and our teammates to get in here as well, so we can continue to get better together. All right, let's bring it in.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, M2 on 2, 1, 2.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Made it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you ask every kid to shake your hand after practice, or is that something they just started doing?
You just do it, yeah. Well, I think way back, like very first day of practice, I just try and make an effort to always shake my coach's hand, and just thank them for practice, even for good practice, bad practice, whatever. So we just kind of early on, and then I don't know, it just continued to go. I think it's just a good sign of respect, I think a lot of times in wrestling, you lose track of that. I think it's important to just, whether you mean it or not, just I think saying thank you is something that people forget a lot about, So try and make sure they shake all the coaches' hands and just, appreciate being here, I think is important.